Hey, everybody, welcome back to another Motivation Monday podcast for Monday, May 20th, 2019. As always, we hope you had a great weekend and hope you're ready to tackle this week head on with a little bit of a nudge from us and a little bit of motivation, hopefully. So, we've been talking a lot about practicing, right? And a discussion that we have had recently in the 10-Minute Jazz Lesson Community Facebook page has been about stepping away from your instrument and then coming back and either feeling really terrible or actually, funny enough, feeling much better, feeling like you got better when you stopped practicing. And this is a weird thing that I think happens to a lot of us. And, we talked about several different reasons why this could be the case. But one of them that I touched on that is kind of a little bit of a touchy subject almost, but something that I think we should think about is, are we helping or hurting ourselves during our practice time? And it's very easy to step into an arena where we're actually kind of working against ourselves when we're practicing, right? So maybe we're working on some things that we think are going to be really valuable to us, but they're either causing us to march in place or they're actually causing us to take a step backward in our playing. So this is something that I want you to think about, and that is doing a periodic audit on your practice routine, meaning that you need to take the totality of everything that you're working on and decide really whether it's worth working on and whether it's actually helping you or not. And if it's not helping you, why do it? You know what I mean? And you might be surprised because it might be the simplest things that are helping you the most, and the more complicated, kind of unnecessary parts of your practice routine might actually be hurting you or not really doing anything for you in the first place. So really thinking over the routine and switching stuff up from time to time can be really helpful for you. Like, I can think back through the years of practicing and some of the stuff that I've worked on. And, some of the things that I realized that I was playing and thinking about a lot that weren't actually helping me at all were some of the things that I didn't like practicing. So as I audited my practice routine and realized, well, you know what, these things that I hate practicing aren't actually really helping me. And I could use my time in a better, more efficient, and frankly, more pleasurable way. So I started working on some different things and tweaking my practice routine until it got to a point where, okay, every minute of my practice routine is actually pushing me forward. And that's going to obviously change over time. So that's why we need to continuously set aside a few moments to think about where we're currently at and what we're currently working on, right? Like, if I'm trying to get my ears better to grasp traditional harmony, like, let's say I'm trying to get the circle of fourths into my ears. And that's something that I know that that's going to help me, because how could it not? Ear training of almost any kind is going to always be beneficial. But anyways, so I'm trying to get the circle of fourths into my ears. I'm trying to be able to sing around the circle of fourths, right? If there's also a part of my practice routine that is working on giant steps changes in all 12 keys, those two things don't really match up. You know what I'm saying? Like, one of those things is off the charts difficult, and the other one is very practical and is going to result in some gains that I can use right away. And I think that that's really important. Now, that's not to say that you will never be working on giant steps changes in all 12 keys. It's just to simply say that, is that really the most beneficial thing that you can do for yourself right now? Probably not. Probably not. If you can't hear the circle of fourths and sing around the circle of fourths, I think working on giant steps changes in all 12 keys is not going to be very practical for you at this moment. So we need to think about this. We need to audit our practice time. We need to look at it from a really kind of ruthless angle, right? We need to look at it like an auditor looks at something and say, is everything adding up here? Is all my time being used in the best way? Or am I just telling myself that this is going to be beneficial to me because I want it to be beneficial to me, but it's not. So like I notice in my practice routine, the things that have stayed in it over the years is working on sound on my instrument. A really unsexy thing to work on, but absolutely essential. And every time I get done with that portion of my practice routine, I know for a fact I've gotten better at my instrument. Ear training is another thing. Again, a very unsexy thing to do, but something that I know I'm benefiting from every single time I put my nose to the grindstone and do my ear training work. Those are the mainstays in my practice routine. All these other things that are kind of delusions in my mind of like, oh, I'm going to learn to play this Sonny Stitt solo at 300 BPM. Well, that's probably not going to benefit my playing as much as some slow and methodical ear training, as getting better, having a better sound on the saxophone. So really look at this stuff. You might feel cool when you're practicing a certain thing, but it's not about feeling cool. It's about getting better. So don't dive in over your head. All right. Let me know what you think about that. Let's start a new discussion in the 10-Minute Jazz Lesson Community Facebook group about this week's episode. And think about your practice time. Really look at it from every angle and be very honest with yourself about what you're practicing and whether it's really making gains for you or not. And to bring this all back around to what I started with, I think a lot of the reasons sometimes that you feel like you've gotten better when you've laid off of your instrument and stopped practicing for a period of time is actually because you've stopped doing destructive things within your practice routine. So you feel fresh. You feel like, wow, somehow I got better. I mean, there are other factors like listening to music and, sorting things out mentally. But I think a big part of this is actually just that you've stopped doing the things that are possibly, and I know this is so painful to hear, making you worse at your instrument. So you got to find those things and you got to do away with them and really come back to the basics, really, is my opinion. All right. I know that this is probably discouraging to some of you, but this is all part of it. It's all part of the process. Sometimes you got to tear yourself down and find the bad parts and rip them out and replace them with the really good stuff that's benefiting you. Okay, enough from me. Have a great week. No matter what, just get on the instrument and practice. That's the really important part. Okay, we'll see you on Friday with a regular episode. Have a great one, everybody. Talk to you soon. Bye.